consciousness. First, the idea of consciousness. The idea of consciousness is categorized into 4 classifications. 1. Conscious mind. 2. Subconscious mind. 3. Unconscious mind. 4. Superconscious mind. 1. Conscious mind. The conscious mind is awake and aware. Whatever your conscious mind assumes and believes to be true, your subconscious mind will accept and bring to pass. Believe in good fortune, divine guidance, right action, and all the blessings of life. Conscious mind is the logical mind in work when you are awake. It is an analytical mind with limited power and determines our actions. The easiest way to see consciousness that is invisible and intangible is to build a model in your imagination. The triune model of consciousness we are using applies only to your personal consciousness, your personality. 1. Neofrontal cortex, language of thought and verbal expression. 2. Limbic system, the language of emotion and feeling tones. 3. Basal ganglia / brainstem, language of body sensation and impulses. The easiest way to see consciousness that is invisible and intangible is to build a model in your imagination. Personality is the totality of some body attitudes, interests, behavioral patterns, emotional responses, social roles, and other individual traits that endure over long periods of time. You, the person, are the personality made of awake consciousness that you think of as myself. This is a very simplistic approach, but it provides all that we need and nothing limiting about consciousness. It is everywhere. The reality of consciousness is in every model or different parts, and this is only just a convenience to our thinking process. To understand, we analyze and break things down into pieces and then put them back together again. All these parts function together in wholeness. It is the whole person that we want to empower to live life fully on his or her own terms. Even though we think we are just our conscious mind, when we are in reality, there are a lot of hidden things going on all the time below our immediate awareness. The conscious mind manages your daily affairs without interfering with the body's automatic nervous system that safely runs the body's function. Nevertheless, there is a mind-body connection that is somewhat a two-way street. Sometimes, mental and emotional stress adversely affects the body's functions, and other times the body inappropriately affects mind and emotion. The body organs function automatically on their own, so we too have many conscious operations largely automatic. We mostly wake up at the same time, eat the same breakfast day after day, and make a routine trip to the workplace, and so with little conscious effort. Generally, being awake is the same as being aware. But full awareness is more than just being awake. Awareness sometimes occurs even during sleep. Some people have trained themselves to function with awareness while the physical body is asleep. Their awareness work at a low level to perceive minor changes in the environment and to remember dreams, and can work at a higher level on the astral plane and during out-of-body experience. Awareness is like a spotlight in the field that is your consciousness. It can light up the whole field, but generally, it provides only a gentle background light and an occasional spotlight on areas of interest. Awareness is alertness, concentration, attention, sensitivity, and focus. It is your directed consciousness under control. This pictorial image is a clear description to understand what consciousness looks like. 2. Subconscious mind. You normally encounter it unconsciously only in your sleep and through dreams. The subconscious mind is never asleep, it is always aware. It is difficult to understand all the ways in which the conscious mind operates, and even more so in the case of the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is below the conscious mind. If you draw pictures of icebergs to point out that the ice beneath the surface is larger than the visible amount above as an analogy with the subconscious below the surface and the conscious above. This means that we believe the territory we call subconsciousness to be much larger than that of consciousness. Ice is a frozen form of uncountable water, while an iceberg is a large mass of floating ice shell and water. Iceberg image over ice water. Clearly, the subconscious mind refers to mental processes that occur outside of active conscious awareness. It is responsible for shaping personality, behavior, and character, and stores memories, experiences, and values. The term subconscious was coined by psychologists. The subconscious mind records events gathered through the 5 senses, produces thoughts and emotions, and provides habits or autopilot programs to the conscious mind. Your subconsciousness can shape you and your life. Psychologists agree that the subconscious mind is what conducts autopilot thinking. There are times during the day when our conscious minds switch off. When we sleep or daydream, we are less aware of our surroundings. But when we are on autopilot, we continue to register information within the brain. The sounds you hear, the scents you inhale, and the vibrations you feel are all registered in your subconscious mind. The term subconsciousness refers to the state of not being wholly conscious when your conscious mind is at rest. 50 to 60% of your mental processes consist of subconscious activity, which applies to any activity outside active conscious awareness. The subconscious plays a crucial role in shaping personality, behavior, and character. It is the storehouse of memories, experiences, and values within the mind. Most people suffer from a lack of productivity because of their subconsciousness. However, the subconscious can be trained with the help of mindfulness meditation to become more aware of the present moment. Have you ever felt suddenly and inexplicably anxious when meeting someone for the first time? This is the effect of the subconscious mind. How about your physical response when an attractive person walks into the room? Pay attention next time, and you will notice how your posture and disposition change in the presence of someone you find attractive. Here is another classic example of the subconscious at work. Anxiety is a very normal reaction to daily stressors, but most people do not have effective strategies for dealing with stress. Do dreams come from the subconscious mind? Are you conscious when you are asleep? Well, this depends on what stage of sleep you are in. In the deepest stage of sleep, your conscious mind is completely at rest. You become entirely unaware of what is occurring in your immediate environment. This is when your subconsciousness takes over. It maintains your breathing, bodily functions, and everything else required to keep you alive. The subconscious mind never rests. It may be dormant throughout the day, but at night when you are asleep, the subconscious becomes more active. Your dreams are nothing but a manifestation of accumulated subconscious thoughts. That is how nightmares are born. Ever watched a horror movie only to wake up later that night screaming? Now you know that there exists a real logical connection between the two events. So, can you control your dreams? Absolutely. And that is because you have the power to reprogram your subconscious mind. Your subconscious thoughts and ideas are inspired by the books you read, the movies you watch, and the people you meet. So pay attention to what you feed your mind, because it will shape your dreams and eventually your reality. 3. The unconscious mind. The psychologist Pierre Janet said that the unconscious sees the men behind the curtains. Unconsciousness is a dissociation from the conscious and subconscious mind. The unconscious is one of the most intriguing concepts in psychology. It seems it contains all of our experiences of reality, although it appears beyond our awareness or control. It has the pace where we retain all of our memories, thoughts, and feelings. The psychologists who examined the unconscious feared that it might be filled with psychic activity that was too powerful, too frightening, or too incomprehensible for our conscious mind to be able to incorporate. It was described that the structure of the mind as formed of the conscious, the unconscious, and the preconscious popularized the idea of the unconscious, introducing the notion that it is the part of the mind that defines and explains the workings behind our ability to think and experience. It is easy to take for granted the reality of the conscious and naively believe that what we think, feel, remember, and experience make up entirely of the human mind. But the psychologist Freud said that the active state of consciousness, that is, the operational mind of which we are directly aware in our everyday experience, is just a fraction of the total psychological forces at work in our physical reality. The conscious exists at the superficial level, to which we have easy and immediate access. Beneath the conscious lies the powerful dimensions of the unconscious, the warehouse from which our active cognitive state and behavior are dictated. The conscious is effectively the puppet in the hands of the unconscious. The conscious mind is merely the surface of a complex psychic realm. Since the unconscious is all-encompassing, it contains within it the smaller spheres of the conscious and an area called the preconscious. Everything that is conscious that we actively know has at one time been unconscious before rising to consciousness. However, not everything becomes consciously known. Much of what is unconscious remains there. Memories that are not in our everyday working memory, but which have not been repressed, reside in part of the conscious mind, which is called preconscious. We are able to bring these memories into conscious awareness at any time. The picture below is a clear example of an explanation. Unconscious mind, as Freud, psychoanalytic theory of personality states, the unconscious mind is defined as a reservoir of feelings, thoughts, urges, and memories that outside of conscious awareness. Within this understanding, most of the contents of the unconscious are considered unacceptable or unpleasant, such as feelings of pain, anxiety, or conflict. Freud believed that the unconscious continues to influence behavior even though people are unaware of these underlying influences. When conceptualizing the unconscious mind, it can be helpful to compare the mind to an iceberg. Everything above the water represents conscious awareness, while everything below the water represents the unconscious. This means the things that represent our conscious awareness are simply the tip of the iceberg. The rest of the information that is outside of conscious awareness lies below the surface. While this information might not be accessible consciously, it still exerts an influence over current behavior. Unconscious thoughts, beliefs, and feelings can potentially cause a number of problems, including anger, bias, compulsive behaviors, difficult social interactions, distress, relationship problems, and so on. Freud believed that many of our feelings, desires, and emotions are repressed or held out of awareness because they are simply too threatening. Freud believed that sometimes these hidden desires and wishes make themselves known through dreams and slips of the tongue, eka, Freudian slips. As it is clearly believed that all of our basic instincts and urges are also contained in the unconscious mind. The life and death instincts, for example, were found in the unconscious. The life instincts, sometimes known as the sexual instincts, are those that are related to survival. The death instincts include such things as thoughts of aggression, trauma, and danger. Such urges are kept out of consciousness because our conscious minds often view them as unacceptable or irrational. In order to keep these urges out of awareness, Freud suggested that people utilize a number of different defense mechanisms to prevent them from rising to awareness. Uses of your unconscious mind. The contents of the unconscious awareness were important for relieving psychological distress. More recently, researchers have explored different techniques to help see how unconscious influences can impact behaviors. There are a few different ways that information from the unconscious might be brought into conscious awareness or studied by researchers. The use of free association is one technique that can bring unconscious feelings into awareness. When a psychologist asks patients to relax and say whatever comes to mind without any consideration of how trivial, irrelevant, or embarrassing, it might be helpful tracing these streams of thought. This technique could uncover the contents of the unconscious mind, where repressed desires and painful childhood memories exist. From Freud's point of view, dream interpretation would require examining the literal content of a dream, known as the manifest content, to try to uncover the hidden, unconscious meaning of the dream. Conscious of the unconscious. The conscious mind determines the actions, the unconscious mind determines the reactions, and the reactions are just as important as the actions. If the conscious of the unconscious person talks about a reality with the unconscious person, the unconscious mind releases negative emotions to maintain their physical and emotional wills. Theories about the unconscious vary widely within psychological circles: socially unacceptable desires, traumatic memories, and painful emotions. The unconscious mind is simply a bundle of cognitive processes that we are not aware of, not an entity in itself. The truth is that it is hard to prove any of these theories. Just as we know that the universe is vast, we know the unconscious mind is powerful, as sometimes the power of bad is more powerful than the power of good. And like our research into space, our knowledge of the unconscious mind is limited by the scientific equipment we have available to observe it. So we end up subscribing to theories we find most useful. People in Western cultures, the unconscious mind has been viewed as an enemy, a murky power that swooped in to sabotage our conscious desires. It became the scapegoat for every failure, mistake, or unwanted reaction. More recently, people have come to think of the unconscious mind as a tool they can consciously use to get where they want to go. They bludgeon the mind with affirmations and then wonder why they are not working. So, conscious mind people need to treat the unconscious mind with a lot more respect. They believe that the unconscious has specific important roles to play and duties to perform. They see the unconscious mind as having a wisdom of its own that should be honored. Conscious mind people emphasize working with the unconscious rather than trying to browbeat it into submission or ignoring it. You do not need psychology knowledge to work effectively with your unconscious, but you do need to understand a few basics. Here are a few of the unconscious examples. One of its main objectives is the survival of your physical body. It will fight anything that appears to be a threat to that survival. So if you want to change a behavior more easily, show your unconscious how that behavior is hurting your body. The unconscious handles all of your basic physical functions: breathing, heart rate, immune system, etc. Tell the unconscious what perfect health looks like. Try asking it what it knows and what you need for a better condition of life. Like a young child, the unconscious likes to serve, needs very clear directions, and takes your instructions very literally. So if you say, "This job is a pain in the neck," your unconscious will figure out a way to make sure that your neck hurts at work. The unconscious is also very moral in the way a young child is moral, which means based on the morality taught and accepted by your parents or surroundings. So if you were taught that sex is nasty, your unconscious will still respond to that teaching even after your conscious mind has rejected it. Communicates through emotion and symbols. To get your attention, the unconscious uses emotions. For example, if you suddenly feel afraid, your unconscious has detected, rightly or wrongly, that your survival is at risk. Stores and organizes memories. The unconscious decides where and how your memories are stored. It may hide certain memories, such as traumas, that have strong negative emotions until you are mature enough to process them consciously. When it senses that you are ready, whether you consciously think you are or not, it will bring them up so you can deal with them. The unconscious absorbs pictures rather than words. So if you say, I do not want to procrastinate, the unconscious generates a picture of you procrastinating. Switching that picture from the negative to the positive takes an extra step. Better to tell your unconscious, let us get to work. Makes associations and learns quickly. To protect you, the unconscious stays alert and tries to glean the lessons from each experience. For example, if you had a bad experience in school, your unconscious may choose to lump all of your learning experiences into the "this is not going to be a fun" category. It will signal you with sweaty palms and anxiety whenever you attempt something new. But if you do well in sports, your unconscious will remember that sports equals success, and you will feel positive and energized whenever physical activity comes up. There is much more to the unconscious mind, but even just understanding the basics above will help you harness its power. 4. The superconscious mind. The superconscious mind is mostly conditioned by the past, and your conscious mind by the present. But you were born with a basic purpose, with some specific learning goals for this lifetime. The superconscious mind is your doorway to and from the future. The past, present, and future are not the sum total of your conscious potential. The superconscious mind is the higher self and the source of your inspiration, ideals, ethical behavior, and heroic action, and the very essence that is the light of men as it was in the beginning, and as it is now, and as it will be always. Superconsciousness is a word describing a blissful state in which an individual can perceive themselves and all of existence with a pure, intuitive, and holistic awareness. In this state, the individual will achieve self-realization, seeing themselves as a soul made in the image of God, rather than as an individual ego. As such, the illusions of the ordinary conscious mind will fall away, revealing the spiritual potential within. Some sources suggest that superconsciousness is a third state of awareness beyond the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. This state of superconsciousness is said to be the mechanism by which an individual can access intuition, inspired problem solving, and healing. This can only be experienced when the mind is in a calm yet energized state. In the core of our consciousness, we have a spark of divinity that gives us, in our consciousness, the power to shape the future and even to change the present. We will earn that power through the techniques of self-empowerment and self-improvement programs presented. When we ask what consciousness is, we need to define ourself to get the answer. While we speak of consciousness, subconsciousness, superconsciousness, and collective consciousness as if they were separate things or places, they are not things or places. Giving them names and discussing them analytically is just a convenience to allow us to focus our minds on the state of consciousness. Everything starts in the imagination to visualize something new. Imagination includes the ability to visualize, to form images and ideas in the mind, especially of things never seen or experienced directly. Imagination is creative part of the mind where ideas, thoughts, and images are formed. Imagination is resourcefulness, the ability to think of ways of dealing with difficulties or problems. It is a creative act of creating semblance of reality, especially in literature. We communicate to the superconscious through our unconscious and subconscious minds. The information we receive through the superconscious is then passed down to us through our unconscious. Then, it is decoded to us in a way we can vaguely understand through our subconscious mind. The superconscious, also superconscious or superconscious, is a proposed aspect of the mind to accompany the conscious and subconscious and/or unconscious. It is able to acquire knowledge through non-physical or psychic mechanisms and pass that knowledge to the conscious mind. It therefore transcends ordinary consciousness. The term is also used to describe transcendental states of consciousness achieved through meditation and related practices, thus accessing the superconscious mind directly. Knowledge acquired by the superconscious need not be from the present or nearby. It may be from the past or future, from a physically remote present, or of beings undetectable by the physical senses. Superconsciousness is therefore offered in order to provide an explanation for psychic phenomena such as precognition, remote, and vision. Mainstream science does not recognize such psychic phenomena as genuine and therefore regards theories to account for them as pseudoscience. Chapter 6. The Idea of Freedom. First, the philosophical concepts of